Recording. Welcome to the New Year's Eve ceremony and party, saying goodbye to 2021 and welcoming in 2022. I can hardly believe that this is 2022, but it is a time to remember who you are and let go of those things that we no longer need and sit sit in the light of the oneness of the divine. So for whatever reason, this color, this periwinkle color, is the color of 2022. I did a lot of searching around to see what the color agreement is, and in the spiritual related websites, this is what they're all saying. So we're going with periwinkle with some violet red undertones. And the periwinkle represents serenity and calmness, and also symbolizing blossoming friendships, sentimental memories, and everlasting love. And we're going to talk a lot about love tonight, that very special divine love. And 2022, 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals, the number 6. So numerologically, we are in a 6 year, and the 6 is about balance. It guides us to the perfect balance. And so I have a little balance video for you. And so the trick is to balance the material and the spirituality of our lives. So that's what we're going to do tonight, and this is where we are. And just to give you a quick overview, I will call the directions in just a moment. But we're going to talk about the astrological vibrations that are happening, coming in, leaving 2021 and coming into 2022. And we're going to do several ceremonies, and I put this in the email, but just in case, if you want to take a minute to grab some of these, if you don't already have them, you might want pen and paper for journaling, as we do a couple of things through here, and a candle if you want to have a candle, flower or herbs, sage, incense, whatever, dried or fresh. A rattle if you choose to use a rattle. Um, I I included the rattle because many of them are made from natural materials. But any sort of a sacred item that is made of the earth would be a really good thing to have at this time. And a dish or a bottle of water, because we're going to do a water ceremony too. Um, and then after a bit, we're going to do 3 ceremonies: a ceremony about love. Let me see if I can put. I have several things open. I'm trying. If you all would mute yourselves, that would be really helpful. And I'll see if I can get to mute. There we go. Okay. Muting, not because I don't want you to talk, but there was a lot of background noise happening, so I have muted everyone. So, and then after we call the directions and talk a little bit about the astrological comings and goings, we have 3 ceremonies: a ceremony about divine love, a ceremony to bless water and the earth, and a ceremony about gratitude. And we're then going to do some dancing. Very specific dancing, but dancing nevertheless. Much like sacred circle dance or dances of universal peace is sacred dancing, we're going to do some fun dancing, but with a sacred intention behind it. Dancing with Venus and Mars, which is a real theme through 2022. Dancing with your own creativity, dancing with your connection to the divine, and dancing your spiritual journey. So this is where we're headed. And what I want to do next is is calling the directions. And after that, I will put everyone back on the uh, the view, or and I'll close my screen sharing so that we can all see one another and have a couple of minutes to talk a bit. But let me start with calling the directions. I have been burning here for quite some time, about an hour or so, burning a number of different things. Of course, the sage and the sweetgrass, which are very typical with ceremonial purposes. But I also have some tree resins that I'm burning tonight. I'm using amber, frankincense, and myrrh. And these are herbs that we use to bring about peace and overall wellness, relaxation, calming for the body, the mind, and the spirit. And so these herbs are again smoking. They've been smoking for a while, and I have, ooh, I'm about to make myself cough. I have smudged all of the sacred symbols that I have here behind me, and we'll be working with some of these as we go through the ceremonies today. So join me now as we start the what's called a medicine wheel in some traditions, called the spirit wheel in the Celtic tradition, but it is one and the same, slightly different aspects of it, but they are both wheels of life that bring us to a sacred place. And so we'll call the ancestors from the directions through the spirit wheel. And I always start with the center of divine love. And we say, thank you, divine light. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here with us this day. We open our hearts and our minds. And for this particular calling of directions, releasing 2021, I'm going to start in reverse, releasing the ancestors who've been with us throughout the year of 2021. And so I turn first to the north, saying, thank you, ancestors of the north. Thank you for leading us through these challenges. And we come to you at the end of 2021, releasing our fears, releasing our doubts, releasing that fear of standing up as the warrior of the heart, letting it go. Thank you for being with us this year. And to the west, the direction of introspection, the direction of water. We call to the ancestors and we thank you for having been with us. We release you to go to the places where you need to serve, and the water of the west washes across us, again releasing those fears, those doubts, those pains, those regrets of 2021. Yet the water helping us hold the memory of the joys of 2021. And the water puts us in her boat and washes us to the south. And we step out of the boat from the west and into the fires of the south. We walk through the fires to release all of those things that no longer serve us, those things that will not help us moving into the future of 2022. We release, we stand in the fire and say, thank you, ancestors, for leading us on this journey, for taking us through the fire. And I turn to the east. Ancestors of the East, blow your air through us. Blow away the ashes from the South. Dry the water from the West that's collected on our skin and our hair. Start us anew as we let go of 2021. And we open our hearts and our minds and ask the ancestors for 2022 to come in, to blow your energy in from the east with the rising sun, with Nut of the Egyptian line, giving birth to the rising sun, giving birth to the new beginning of 2022, giving birth to our pathway as we step up and accept the mantle for this year's journey. Come with us, ancestors of the East, and lead us to the South. And I turn to the South, where Hathor and Bes of the Egyptian line and the Oren Moore and Bridget of the Celtic line stand in the midday sun, stand with the light and the joy and the love and the laughter of the South. They call us to stand in the South, to stand in the beauty of the fire, to stand in the place of love, to stand in the place where we fall in love with the rhythm of life. And we thank you for taking us on this journey. Thank you, ancestors of the South. And I turn to the West. The place of introspection, the place of water, the place that brings up our emotions, and the place that helps us move from the unconscious to the conscious, action and thought. So, ancestors of the West, Sekhmet and the Morrigan, guiding us, protecting us, holding us as the black bear takes us into her cave. Because we need the bright sunlight of the East, we need the joy and the laughter of the South, but we need the introspection and the darkness of the West as we travel this journey. And the ancestors of the West guide us to the North. And in the North, there is Ma'at, standing with her scales of justice, standing with her scales to tell us to remember to walk in balance. And Danu of the Celtic line, calling us to stand up as warriors of the heart, to step into 2022, to be the warrior who helps lift the collective consciousness into the new era. And in the North stands White Buffalo Woman. She says, I have come to teach you how to live in ceremony. Come be warriors of the heart with me. And we come back full circle to the center, saying, thank you, divine light. Thank you, Isis, who holds the heavens, and Osiris, who guards the underworld. Thank you to the divine light. Thank you to the stars and the moon and the planets, the Milky Way, the solar system, and all the galaxies. Guide us on our path through this year of 2022. And I turn my hands downward to the earth, to the mother, and say thank you for holding us in your arms in this journey, and honoring the many traditions. I say Aho, Amen, blessed be, Hamdulillah, Ashi, and so it is. Wow, so hello everyone. Lots and lots of folks here today. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here in this joyous celebration. I am so very grateful that you're here. Ah, so I have a quote for you, and I hope that my intention is to do some ceremony and take a few minutes for folks to share a little if you'd like to, and do another ceremony and share some more. So we'll try to do that as we go along. And if you have some comments, and we haven't, opened the platform for comments, please do post them in the chat if you would like to do that as well. I can't always read the chat as I'm going through it, but I will go back to it as we take these breaks back and forth. So I'd like to share with you a quote that I think is very appropriate for where we're going today and what we're talking about. The quote is from Zora Neale Hurston. There are years that ask questions and years that answer. Which will 2022 be for you? Will it be asking your questions? Will it be answering your questions? Or maybe a little of both. And we've talked about the number 6, which is you add the 2, 2, and 2 together. This is a year of balance. The 6 represents the balance and the harmony. And when that number is a part of what you're doing, it's said to be a period where of great trust and dependability. So we're talking about balance and dependability as we go through this year. A little bit of a change from the last 2 years, I'd say. So let me share with you before we go into ceremony a little bit about the upcoming astrology. I'm not an astrologer. I dabbled once upon a time, and before we had computers, but I would not call myself an astrologer anymore. But I do follow a lot of astrologers, and what I'm hearing from them, one of the most beautiful things I heard is that we are in the midst of anchoring and embodying the age of Aquarius. That's a powerful thing. And, in December 2020, we had that great convergence, which was, many people said, the beginning of the age of Aquarius, but we certainly are on the cusp. And with any cusp, there is great chaos. And so clearly, we are in the middle of much, much, much chaos as we go through this cusp. So one of the astrologers said we are anchoring and embodying the age of Aquarius. So the full moon on December 18th was just before that winter solstice, and it brought us, because of its placement in the zodiac, it brought us illumination and expansion and healing to end 2021, the last full moon of the year. It was a culmination of a phase, a story that began for you in June of 2020 came to a peak in March of 2021 and now is drawing to a conclusion at the end of 2021. So as we head toward that new moon on January the 2nd, we're starting a whole new 18-month phase as we go toward that. Um, so the phase we've just come out of is, from the very early days of the seclusion from COVID all the way through. What's next? And another astrologer called Astro Butterfly says that this is a strong renewal energy year. That this renewal energy is inviting us to get to the bottom of who you really are and finding your true power stripped of ego. And Pluto is out there asking us to go all the way through that process. Pluto's saying it's now or never. Stand up. And I would say, stand up and be the warrior of the heart. So we have a new moon coming January 2nd and the full moon January 17th. And we are right now, started 2 days ago, Jupiter has moved into Pisces and will stay there until May. And I'll talk a little more about the details of this as we get to the gratitude ceremony, but that's huge. That's really big in where we're moving through this year. And Venus and Mars are very prominent through the entire year. Venus right now is in retrograde and conjunct to Pluto starting December 19th through the end of January. So we are right now in a Venus retrograde period. And again, when we get to the love ceremony, I'll talk a great deal about that. But we have lots of things happening. Mercury's always going into retrograde, and it's happening the middle of January for a couple of weeks. But that happens several times a year. Nothing new on that. But what is a little different, Mercury was conjunct to Venus and Pluto on December 29th and 30th. So we have this year, 2021, ending with a momentous revelation. Mercury, Venus, and Pluto bring us a powerful moment of truth. Mercury is related to our mind and Venus to our heart. And when they meet, that power, when they meet with Pluto, that brings forth the power and the transformation. And so what the planets are telling us, we can no longer say we don't know what we want, because Pluto is demanding, hammering it out. One astrologer said Pluto will write it on your forehead if you refuse to acknowledge what you need to be doing, if you refuse to remember who you are. So a great motion is beginning to move us along, and it is a time with exciting opportunities going into 2022. It's a time that all kinds of things can happen. Wow. So I want to start this ceremony that's about love, divine love. But let me stop for just a minute and see if anyone has a question or a comment at this point. If you do, just I can't see everyone. I have to change screens to do that. So just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up if you have a comment or a question. Okay. I'm guessing no questions at this point, but always feel free to do that. And as I said, post things in the chat if you'd like to share something with everyone as we go through some of this. So let's go to this ceremony, calling in some divine love. And there's romantic love, and there's brother and sisterly love, and there's family love, but we're going a step beyond that to that divine love, that love that put us here on the planet, that love of the Mother Earth that embraces and enfolds us, because we are not just standing on the earth, we are the earth. We are made of the material of the earth. So it's quite a dynamic relationship, and so it's time for us to work a little bit with that aspect of love. So let me get my striker has died, so I have to get a match out. If you have a candle, this would be a really good time to light that candle. I am lighting a candle. I don't know if you all can see it or not, but this is a candle whoops, that match went out. This is a candle that has several crystals and herbs inside the wax. And so I'm going to burn this throughout the rest of our session today. And if you have a candle, as I said, this is a good time to light that candle. This candle has roses as well as several herbs that are in it. And the rose is associated with love. It's also associated with the Egyptian goddess Isis and several other things. The rose is a representation of the opening of the heart. And I don't have a rose per se, but I have a collection of rose petals that I'll use here as for my flower. And as we go through this process, I want you to think about the Eye of Horus or a dream catcher, whichever is more meaningful to you. This is the Eye of Horus. There's a long Egyptian history and story to that, but it is the all-seeing eye. Or the dream catcher, which is of not just Native American, but several indigenous practices as well. So whichever is more meaningful to you, go into this journey with either the Eye of Horus or the dream catcher. It will be very beneficial. And then, as I said earlier, I have been burning amber, which utilizes water energy, the energy of stillness with water, the energy of quiet strength and purification. It symbolizes renewal and continued faith in love. It is yielding yet formless. And then sweetgrass and sage I have burned. I don't know if you can see my smoke beginning again, but I've started it up again. We burn the sage often to purify, well, the sage and the sweetgrass to purify and cleanse. The sage is regarded as the masculine, herb, and the sweetgrass as the feminine. And so the masculine is to cleanse, and the sweetgrass is to attract the good spirits into the space with us. And then rosemary is an herb that I have with me today, fresh rosemary. It is a symbol of love and blessings of honesty and longevity and wisdom. So it's a very good herb to use. And so if you choose not to burn like the sage and the sweetgrass because you're in a small space, or you don't the smoke is not helpful, you can use an herb and shake the herb in the air as you would move the smoke around. So that's a very useful thing to do if you are not using smoke in your house, or it is something that's difficult for you to breathe. So those are the beginnings of our materials for this ceremony. Now, the ceremony is really very deeply connected to Venus and Mars, and so I want to tell you a little about what's happening with them. Um, Venus is retrograde right now, but it's an energy that's going to be with us throughout 2022. Venus is the symbolic ruler of what we love, not just romantic love, but what we're attracted to and what we care about and what we value. So every 18 months, Venus retrogrades for about 40 days. And in that retrograde, the energy of Venus is asking us to reevaluate what matters to us. Venus wants to know where we're willing to do the work, where we're willing to step forward, and where we need to step back and release. And this has to do with relationships, investments, politics, any place that we form attachments. Venus in retrograde is asking us to reevaluate. So part of the story and the legend with Venus is that she would appear in the evenings, and the ancient astrologers would call her the evening star. And then she would transition from the evening star to the morning star over time. So Venus is a representative of death and rebirth. The evening star being reborn as the morning star. When Venus leaves our evening sky, she's reborn in the light of the sun. So she represents our heart and our ability to love and our ability to be loved. So all of our areas that we love, that we associate with love, are up for rebirth when Venus goes into retrograde. This metamorphosis from evening star to morning star is the death and the rebirth. And she aligns directly with the sun between January 8th and 9th, which is her birth. We would call it her birth. She becomes the morning star again. So it's a rebirth in your heart. And she emerges from that rebirth on January the 29th, the end of January, as the full-born morning star. And what you have on January 29th are the seeds that are emerging from your evaluation of what you love, where you need to stand up, where you need to take a step back. Those seeds are beginning to take root. So this is a time that fear comes up against love and lies come up against truth. So it's a time to look carefully, because on January 29th, Venus shifts again and helps us really look at what is real and what is true. So it's very important through this month of January to be adaptable and to be strong. Hold on to your emotional courage, because resisting will just mean you have to do it again. So pay attention to where you are and what's coming toward you. And then on January 29th, Venus goes direct, the unfolding of those seeds. And Venus and Mars start their dance. We're going to dance to them a little bit later. But by early March, Venus and Mars move into the zodiac sign of Aquarius. This is huge. This is really, really, really important in our lives. It's been described as the god and the goddess traveling jointly into Aquarius. It's the divine feminine and the divine masculine joining as we move forward in this chaos that's taking us into the new world. So it's a time for us to really pay attention to what's going on around us. So I want to do a brief meditation that I'll guide you through. And so if you haven't already lit your candle, do that now. And if you have a flower, you might hold that flower if you'd like to, or just in your mind envision that flower. Envision that flower in your heart and envision the flower opening. So just get yourself into a peaceful place, and I'll do a little rattling as we go into this. Hathor's Rattle of Love takes us into our meditation. So bring your hands together, even if you're holding your flower, just let the flower be there in the center. But bring your hands together, and in your mind, focus on the tips of your little fingers and draw your attention in your mind down those fingers, across the base of your hands and up to the tips of your thumbs. You're opening the chakra centers in your body as we do this. And so now bring your attention from the thumbs back down across the base up to the tips of your little fingers again. Move to the tips of your ring fingers and drop your attention down those fingers toward your palms. Touching your middle fingers, draw your attention down. The tips of your forefingers and draw your attention down toward the palms. Back to your thumbs. And now open your hands just a little, an inch or so, and focus at the palms of your hands. And now open your hands about as wide as your shoulders. And as you do that, open your heart center. Let your flower blossom open. Let your heart blossom open. And let your heart flow in harmony with the dream catcher or the eye of Horus. And take in a slow, deep, easy breath, and remember that you are breathing in divine love into your body, into your bloodstream, into every atom and molecule of your body. You are filled with divine love. It's glowing. It's shimmering. The divine love is you. So as you sit in this meditation, contemplate on how you can connect with the wisdom of your heart. What are the ways that help you feel supported in following the messages of your heart? Let the wisdom flow through the dream catcher or the eye of Horus. Let the understanding flow. And as you sit with these questions, ask the divine, do I feel empowered by the relationships I keep? And if not, how can I create more balance? And how am I choosing to spend my time? Am I spending my time on the things I value the most? So let those thoughts float in for just a moment as we go into the silence. May you see the stars that shine in your heart, in your heart. May you see the stars that shine in your heart. May you find the courage to follow your stars. Follow your stars. Follow your stars. And remember who you are. Now bring your hands together, palm to palm, saying thank you to the divine. Thank you for the guidance. And just open your hands and just brush your hands, drag your hands down your body, down your trunk, and just kind of, as you get to your knees, toss that energy to Mother Earth. And again, say thank you. And then looking at the screen, at the picture that I'm sharing, this is a passion flower. And a friend of mine videoed this flower opening. So let your heart open the way that the passion flower opens. Oh, dear God, thank you.
the little hearts and those spindles. Each little yellow guy.
So if you ever have the opportunity to see a flower open, let your heart open with that flower. So let me take a little break here before we move to our next thing and see if anyone has any comments or questions, anything that you'd like to reflect on from that last journey that we did. I'll take this time to get a sip of water. I'm seeing lots of familiar faces and or names across. Thank you everyone for being here. So any questions, comments?
I'll just make one comment. That singing was just beautiful. The way you wove that into our opening of our hearts with the flowers and the stars and all that. So just amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hadn't planned to sing it. I
Yeah.
had written those words down and it came through. So
Yeah, I thought that too. It sounded that way. It felt that way. Yeah. So really nice. Thanks.
Well, our next ceremony will be a blessing of the water and the earth. And so this would be a good time to gather any sacred item that's made from the earth. This rattle is made from a gourd. And so that's one of the items that I have here. So that's if you have something like that, that's a good thing. Yeah, I see Anna Linda has a gourd, and I see Susan's gourd, and I can't see too many. Yeah, I'm seeing several gourds coming up. That's a really good thing to have in this particular type of ceremony. Another thing that you can use, that I will use as we do this, is the Ankh. There's one here on the wall behind me. I know if you're looking at the the gallery view, it's very small, but there's an Ankh here that's specifically there for the purpose of this ceremony today. So the Ankh is the Egyptian symbol of life, and this is one that was carved that I obtained in Egypt. So this is one of the things that we'll use, and then we will also use water during this ceremony. So if you have some water, either in a dish, I have a bowl that I'm going to put my water in. And if you have some container of water, either a container and that you may want to bless the water in the container or put the water in the bowl. You might also have some smaller bottle. It's whatever works for you, some kind of container with water. And we will want to either put your hands into the dish with water or sprinkle the water from your bottle onto your hands. We'll do this with some things in just a few minutes. Because we will bless the water, and then you will anoint yourself with the water, and then later pour a portion of this water onto the earth. Um, you can keep some of the water for yourself for later as well, but it will be for anointing. It will be for later, tomorrow or something, putting some water on the earth, as well as having some water to use later at another ceremony. Um, so from a place of love, with the Ankh, the key of life, sitting here beside the water as a part of this ceremony, and your rattle, because your rattle is a part of earth and the water. So from a place of love, we will call the ancestors to bless the water and the earth through whatever sacred symbol. It could be a rock. It could be something like a rattle, just anything that's sacred to you, that's of the earth, and then the water. And again, we'll open ourselves to the spirit wheel where we started the ceremony, and open ourselves to all of the elements, the fire, earth, air, and water. So having your water in front of you, either placed on a table in front of you or holding it in your hand, and your item of earth, again, holding it or having it in front of you. And you could even, herbs could be one of your parts of earth. So as I hold the Ankh and the water, I bless my water and I bless your water with these words: divine oneness, holy ones, unseen allies from all times and all places and all spaces. We thank you for co-creating with us this day a reality in which everything we say, think, feel, and do serves only the highest degree of love and the greatest good for all. Together we transform these energies in each of our vessels to infuse this water and these elements of the earth with the vibration of the new dimension. And we infuse the water with the vibration of the water essence new dimension for the purposes of helping, healing, and lifting the earth and the waters of the earth and all beings who can benefit from it. And so it is. The invoking into your water of a water essence called new dimensions, or new dimension, invokes alignment with this new dimension in which we are moving. This alignment essence was originally created in 2020 using a three-dimensional vertical rotating crystal grid. And that grid is related to the moon and the planets, and the crystals project out into the universe. So your water is connected to that unseeable, but in another dimension, this three-dimensional grid. The the essence of the water is like a nebula, a birthing place of stars. And the essence reminds us to pay attention to our alignments. And it asks you, what are you aligned with? And like the pyramid, the grid and the essence draw the energy from this new dimension. And just like the pyramid, it projects this energy into the land, projects it out into the land, but it projects it upward into the stars and the planets to reactivate the star nations. This water is expansive. It explodes inward and outward, contracting and expanding. So if your water is already in the bowl, or if it's in a container, if you have water that's in a smaller bottle, you could put the drops into your hand or on your hair, or you could pour this water into a dish, and which is what I'm doing right now. I'm pouring my blessed water into this dish, and I put my fingers into the water and I'm rubbing it on my face, wetting my fingers again and rubbing it on my hair. Anointing myself with this water. The water is blessed and we are blessed. And later, be sure to put some of this water onto the earth, but also remember that you are not just beings that walk on the earth. We are of the earth. The elements of our body come from the earth. We are earth. We are water. We are a part of all that is. So let yourself merge and align with this water and align with the new dimensions of the highest good. And say thank you. Say thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you live near a stream or a lake or any body of water, sprinkle some of this water into that as well. And keep your water nearby, because we'll do something else with it in just a few minutes. But this is, I feel all fresh, like I've just had a shower. So I'd like to hear from some of you if you have any comments, or just how it felt to you to embrace this water element.
This is the first time for me doing this, and it felt very, almost like I'm alive, like opening up, very much alive. First time I've ever done this. It's pretty incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much peace and love. calmness. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a crystal, a really beautiful stone that's shaped like a turtle shell, and my rattle, rose petals, and my water. And I just feel like this really, and my candle with the fire, I just feel like it really, the water just really blessed everything. And I just feel energy shifting even inside of my house. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jan. Thank you. Yeah. Ah, wonderful. Anyone else want to share?
I was very restless this evening and I'd forgotten about this. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I decided just to turn on my computer and it was 8 o'clock. And so now I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. I love it when the synchronicities just fall into place and we're not
Yeah,
conscious of what we're doing.
I really needed this.
Wow. Anyone else? Okay, I just want to make sure I give everyone time to get, because it's everyone's a little nervous about speaking out. So if you want to say something and you're feeling a little funny, just know that everybody else feels that way too. Okay, well, let's move to our third ceremony. And for this one, you'll need a piece of paper and a pen, and the water that we just used. Just you won't need a lot, but you'll want to be able to dribble a little on your paper after we do some writing on it. And also some either incense if you're burning something, or if you're not burning, using the fresh herbs, whichever you want to do, flowers, herbs, or burning something like the sage, and of course your candle may still be burning too. And all of those are just a part of helping us connect more deeply to this process that we're doing. For this ceremony, I'm going to use my Eye of Horus wand, and of course there's an Eye of Horus hanging here with the sun and the moon and the stars, and the white feather represents messages from the angels, and so those are all a part of us. And the painting over here, I haven't talked about that, but these are women on their way to ceremony. And if you can't quite see the picture, you might click on speaker view, and you should see a larger picture of me if you do that. But these are women on their way to ceremony, not to eliminate the men, because we do have at least one man with us tonight, maybe more. But the people are on their way to ceremony. And for me, many times the birds that accompany the ceremony are white, like the white feather representing the angel messages or whatever. But for me, these are the crows, the black bird of Morrigan, of the Celtic line, who was in the West calling us to introspection. And so the crows call me in, the crows or the ravens call me into introspection. And they are on their way to ceremony with the rather crude painting I have of the mountains where I live, because the women are in the mountains on their way to ceremony as we go into this particular ceremony. So a little background on what we're going to talk about. Jupiter is in Pisces from day before yesterday, December 29th, all the way through to May the 10th. And again in October, November, and December. So this is a really dynamic period with Jupiter in Pisces. And in addition to this period of December to December 2021 to May of 2022, in the middle of that, in March, actually on March the 21st, Mercury and Jupiter conjunct in Pisces. And you don't have to understand the astrological meaning of all that. Just know that you've got Mercury and Jupiter coming into Pisces, and that makes March the 21st a powerful day. A powerful day for visioning, for planning, for strategizing. It's a time where the ideas are big and brilliant and inspiring. So mark it on your calendar, March the 21st. Whether you follow astrology or not, the vibration that happens, that comes with these planetary movements, do impact what we do, and we can work with them or we can work against them. And so to work with them, pay attention to March the 21st. Pay attention to what you do on that date. Jupiter is, depending on who you read, but Jupiter is supposed to be related to fire. Others say that it's air and ether, but it's a pretty dynamic element. And then Pisces is water. So we have fire and water coming together, and they are a very strong influence throughout 2022. Jupiter has been in the sign of Aquarius since December 2020 and moving now into Pisces. So this is a big transition that's happening. It was a part of that great conjunction that you may have heard a lot about at the end of 2020. So and that there's a ripple from that period that will define the next 20 years of what we do. And the ripple is one of abundance and expansion. So that's why we're doing this ceremony related to abundance, related to prosperity. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And Pisces, being a water sign, is linked to our spirituality. So what we're coming on is a higher consciousness and things like dream work and visions and creativity. So we may find all those highlighted, especially highlighted during 2022, because this is really, really large. And the abundance and the expansion may manifest in our creative and intuitive projects. And in the collective, in the world around us, we may see more awareness of spirituality, an increase in the awareness of alternative healing methods. And there may be new research coming about in a variety of different areas, part of that even into mental health because of the water influence. But again, the water influence may bring up innovation and research related to marine life and the oceans. So I think our water ceremony was very, very important because we've got a year of that kind of expansion too. So Jupiter represents expansion and abundance, and Pisces rules understanding of the whole, the spirituality of who we are. So we're going to do a ceremony that might help us reach a deeper level of the awareness of abundance. I had an interesting, I spent the holidays with one of my daughters, and she had an interesting comment, an interesting awareness about prayers to different saints, because Santa Claus is actually from Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas is a saint of several things, a saint of children and this and that, but Saint Nicholas is a saint, the patron saint of merchants. And my daughter said, what clearer manifestation of prayer is Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of merchants, and the entire world almost, buys all these gifts at Christmas. So remember, what we do really does have an impact out there. So I wanted to share that with you. I thought that was a very interesting observation that she had tied together St. Nicholas with the Christmas and Hanukkah gift buying, because even the Muslim world celebrates Christmas, not exactly the way that we do, but still is very conscious of Christmas in that whole process. So, what we're going to do for our ceremony for gratitude, prosperity, and money, I am going to hold my Eye of Horus out to you. That Eye of Horus is now shining down upon you. Its energy is flowing into you. And on that piece of paper that you have, I would like you to start with gratitude and write down 5 things for which you are grateful. The first things that come into your mind, don't do a lot of thinking. Just let the Eye of Horus shine on you and write 5 things for which you are grateful. And then the next thing I'd like you to do is write 5 things. Yeah, Bonnie's saying, wait just a minute, I'll hold up. So now write 5 things that would indicate your prosperity. What does prosperity look like for you? What do you see as prosperity? And so write down some things that indicate your level of prosperity. And the Eye of Horus sends out its blessings to you as we go through this process. And so as you're writing that list, look at both lists now. Are there things in the categories that may be related or even the same things? You might, draw a line from one category to another where they overlap, or draw circles or something to indicate that you get the connection between for what things for which you're grateful and the things that you see as prosperity. And then for just a minute, expand your thought of prosperity and list one or two things that are definitely not monetarial prosperity. It might be your creativity, it might be friendships, but whatever comes to you that is not monetary, but is a part of your prosperity. Many times when we create lists like this, especially on New Year's Eve ceremonies, we often burn our lists so that the energy goes out into the world. So instead of burning these lists, what I'd like you to do is take the water that we blessed, and if you have it in a dish, put your fingers back into it, and then I want you to sprinkle some of the water onto your paper. Or if you've got a little dropper, do the drops, but put some of the water, sprinkle it onto your paper. And if you have incense burning, let the smoke from the incense go toward it, or take your herbs or your flour and take that piece of paper and brush around it as if you were clearing the air around it. You're giving it water blessing, you're giving it air blessing, you're giving it earth blessing. So we have all of the elements involved with this process, because the elements are not separate individuals any more than you are separate from the earth. Fire, when it's cooled, becomes earth. I have ashes in my still very hot dish. If I touch the bottom, I have the ashes from where I've burned all of these. So my fire has now become earth. And earth, when it's dissolved, becomes water. And water, when it evaporates, becomes air. And air, when it's kindled, becomes fire. So our ceremony of prosperity, gratitude, and even money crosses through all of the elements. And so take your paper in your hands and just, you can hold it in your hands or you can hold it up to your heart, whichever you'd like to do, and close your eyes and visualize the manifestation of your gratitude, the manifestation of your prosperity, the manifestation of money coming into your life, but also the manifestation of creativity in your life. And hold this in your heart. And when you're finished, again, bring your hands together at your heart, saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And once again, drag your hands down your body, just kind of grounding yourself, as we've been through these ceremonies and through some meditations, and have done a number of things here tonight, as we move forward minute by minute. You know, part of the world is already in 2022. So anyone have any comments or questions? Again, just unmute yourself if you'd like to say something.
I just wanted to mention that I did have the opportunity to hear Big Ben ring in the new year for London. It was beautiful and very emotional. I was hearing it live from someone who was standing there on a Zoom call. It was beautiful.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything you'd like to share?
When you first explained, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
When you first explained about Jupiter in Pisces, I thought about, I work with a group called Right Relationship Boulder that seeks to create healing with Indigenous people. And I recently spoke about what it means to decolonize our mind and our organizations and move. And the primary piece that I spoke about, two primary pieces, were bringing in the sacred, that we need to resacralize, resacred our institutions, our meetings, our gatherings, and listening, doing deep listening to the earth and the non-human world, as well as deep listening with one another. So I consider that Jupiter and Pisces helping that to happen.
Yes, very much
So
so.
thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. There is a summit coming up. January the 10th is when it starts. If you are not already on my mailing list, please go to my website and sign up, unless you've already gotten this mailing from someone else. I'm one of the guest speakers, but there are 25 or so guest speakers. And this is about, the title of it is The Mythica, but this is about the ways that the ancient knowledge comes available to us today. The ways that we go into ceremony and we reach down into the earth and bring that knowledge up and around and into the environment today. So let me, I know some of you were invited by other people. So let me, in the chat, I'm going to type in my website. It's Mother Earth Sacred Tours.net. And if you go to my website, there's a place to sign up for newsletters. And I've already sent one. Those of you who are on my mailing list have gotten lots of mail this week from me. I've already sent out one announcement, and I'll send out another. But you can also contact me through the website too, or my mailing. My email is peggy@motherearthsacredtours.net. So email me if you want more information about it. I think it's just a very exciting summit that will, lots of very interesting speakers. I know a few of the other speakers. In fact, I was talking with one today, and I think it will be a really wonderful thing to see and experience. Yeah. So any other comments, questions? Because we have something else to do. Okay, well, I am at this point, I'm going to stop the recording, and I apologize to the people who may be watching this later, but we're moving into the dancing time, and I cannot play the music and have it in the recording because YouTube will reject it because it's copyrighted. I will post the list of songs that I do, so if you are watching this after the event, you can go to YouTube and watch any of these songs. But I am stopping the recording now.